The Titans running back position. Not a ton of roster questions here, but a major question: how will the workload be divided this season? Callahan has talked about it. We're about to listen to him. We're going to break down every player in the running back room. This is the Music City Audible. Let's get to it.
I think in a perfect world, it's a healthier division of labor. I think he ended up carrying the ball a lot. He was our most productive running back. And then Tyjae had some injuries early too, so he ended up playing a lot early, and then Tyjae sort of came on as the year went on further. So I like really both of those players a lot. I think we can do a better job of managing that load so they both play a little more evenly, and allows us to maybe have a spot for a third back between Julius and Khalil, some heavier style back and runner. So hopefully that division of labor gets a little more evenly distributed so he doesn't have to take the brunt of it.
Oh, welcome everyone to another episode of the Music City Audible podcast presented by Sinkers Beverages, the premier wine, spirits, and beer store in East Nashville. We're part of the 440 Sports Network. Welcome everyone. I'm Justin Graver. With me as always, Justin Melo. And today we are continuing our 2-week, 10-day with weekend in between 10-day long series previewing Titans training camp position by position. And we got the running backs today. That was Brian Callahan speaking on Tuesday, May 20th about the division, the workload split in the running back room. And he also did us a favor, Justin. He teased the end of this preview pod where we're going to talk about Khalil Mullings versus Julius Chestnut for that RB3 spot. Curious, he did not mention Tyrion Davis-Price, who is the fifth and final running back currently on the Titans roster. We're going to talk about what his role will be in preseason very briefly because he's not making the team. We're going to talk about who makes the team, though. Do the Titans keep 3 running backs or 4? And who will be the lead dog? Will it be closer to an even split like we didn't see last season, but like we expected to see? How's it going, Justin?
Doing well. Yeah, excited to talk about this position group. There was a clear workhorse last year. There's a guy that, in Tyjae Spears, who I would go as far as to say is entering a make-or-break season, I think, in Tennessee. So some fun topics to talk about in this room here.
Yeah, I agree. It is a make-or-break season for Tyjae Spears, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk through each guy individually here, and we're going to start at the top with Tony Pollard. Before we get too deep, a reminder that we have done so many position groups now. We have already done the safeties, the corners, the wide receivers, the offensive line, the defensive line, tight ends. There's so many positional previews that we have run through in the last 6 weekdays. So check back in the feed if you haven't seen those already, or in the audio feed if you haven't listened to those already. And don't forget, if you are watching on YouTube, to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and drop a comment below. What are your thoughts on the potential running back workload split? Let us know. We're going to dive into this, Justin, with Tony Pollard, who I think was criminally underrated by national media last year because the Titans and the Titans offense specifically was such a disaster dumpster fire across the board. It felt like there was one player who I think shined above through all that disaster, and that was Tony Pollard, who was heavily relied upon to be the engine of the offense a few weeks into the year when Brian Callahan realized his quarterback was not good and couldn't be trusted not to turn the ball over. They really leaned heavily on Tony Pollard, and I just don't think he gets the credit he deserves. Jeremy Fowler's doing his positional ranking series where he talks to the anonymous league personnel, and they rank the top 10 players at every position. And they end up ranking, sometimes 15 to 20 when it comes to the honorable mentions and others receiving votes. Tony Pollard did not get a single vote as a top 10 running back last year. Was he snubbed from the list?
Yeah, I thought he kind of was. I'd go as far as to say that Tony Pollard was probably the best player on the Titans offense last year. Now, maybe a little close between him and Calvin Ridley, but I thought Pollard was a bit more consistent. Ridley started the season slow, had some issues with drops, came on a bit stronger as the year went on. I thought Pollard was pretty good all the way through. I'll run through some of the basic numbers if you don't mind. Finished 12th in rushing last year, had 1,079 yards. That was his third straight 1,000-yard season. Remember, it kind of felt like Titans were trying to get him there. Near the end of the year, we know that there was some incentives financially to get him there, and when a guy's a team-first guy and is playing through injury the way he is, they loved him so much in that room, they wanted to get him there because he makes you want to get him there, right, with the attitude that he plays with. There were 16 running backs who rushed for 1,000 yards last year. Pollard, again, being one of them. 4.2 yards per carry. That was 14th best of the 16 guys who ran for 1,000 yards. I like to do it that way because, sample size wise, you want to make sure there's enough carries in there. So, 14th best on the near the bottom of that. But a lot of that had to do with the O-line up front, and there was no consistency with the blocking. I still think, 4.2 is okay. You'd like it to be maybe a little higher. I had someone on the Cowboys staff text me last year, I don't say middle of the season, towards the end of the year, knows I'm a Titans guy, and said to me, I feel bad for this guy, man. TP, two terrible teams 2 years in a row, he said to me, because Cowboys weren't very good the year before and Titans weren't good last year. So he's been on some bad teams lately. That probably hasn't helped. But as you said, Titans really leaned on him. 260 carries last year. That was 8th most in the NFL, top 10 in that category. Sometimes that's going to hurt your yards per carry. If he carried it a little less, maybe he does average 4.5, 4.6 yards per carry. But I thought this guy, I think I said this a couple of weeks ago, but I want to call him the unsung hero of the offense, but it's kind of hard to use that term when you're 3-14, right? But certainly, Titans were so terrible. But if you felt bad for anyone on that offense, I think you felt it for Tony Pollard. He deserved better above anyone else.
Speaking of his yards per carry, and it could have been better, do you want to know, number one, what the Titans gave, what PFF gave the Titans as a run blocking grade as a team for the season, and secondarily, where that ranked in the NFL last year?
30th or 31st?
31st with a 46.6 run blocking grade, one of only two teams under a 50, them and the New England Patriots. So yeah, 4.2 yards per carry in a situation where you are not getting very good run blocking is not, that's an achievement, I think. I don't care that he's 14 out of 16,000 yard rushers at that yards per carry mark. His yards after contact per attempt for running backs with a minimum threshold of 150 carries, Tony Pollard was 6th in the NFL at 3.4 yards after contact per attempt. If you look at how many 10-plus yard runs he finished with last season, he tied for the 8th most in the NFL with 30 10-plus yard runs. Basically, if the Titans needed an explosive play on offense, they were almost more likely to get it with a Tony Pollard 10-plus yard run than they were with a Will Levis 20-plus yard pass. That's how bad the Titans offense was last year and how important Tony Pollard was to their success. So then the big question becomes, Justin, can he carry that kind of workload again? Should the Titans want him to carry that kind of workload again? I'm working through, you may know this, I've been working through my Titans stat projections, little tease for a video that's going to be coming out in a week and a half to almost 2 weeks or so from now, assuming I finish it in time, I've been working on my stat projections. So I had to go back last year and look at how I did. And last year, Justin, I projected a rushing share, the percentage of total carries the Titans offense would have for Tony Pollard at 40%. And I gave 45% to Tyjae Spears because if you remember this time last year, we had no idea how the workload was going to be split. And we almost went into the season thinking Tyjae Spears was the RB1A and Tony Pollard was the 1B. I don't know.
I feel like I would disagree with that. 3 years, 21, 22 million. Felt like a pretty good contract for running back in free agency. I don't. You
didn't call me out on it, so I don't know. Sure? I think it was it was sort of this. It was sort of this common thought amongst Titans media that they were going to be a 1A, 1B, and we didn't know who was going to get more carries than the other, but it was probably not going to be that many more carries. That's kind of what we thought going into last season. So I projected a 40% rushing share for Tony Pollard. His actual rushing share last year, 57.78. So that includes wide receiver run gadget type plays. That includes quarterback runs designed and scrambled. So he had, over 57% of the team's total carries last year. Do you think that number is closer to 50 this season? Is it closer to 45%? Where do you think the workload split is going to come down this year? And for reference, Tyjae Spears only had 18.7% of the team's carries last season.
I think ideally they'd like it to be closer to 50, but
yeah,
maybe slightly lower because you're including quarterback runs and all that stuff. So I guess slightly lower, but still going to be the main back, still going to be the lead back. And I've got serious questions. If I had time, I'd go find an article right now where I bet I would have called you out on it because there's no way that I agreed. I don't think, Tyjae Spears is, not a gadget back, but he's not a 3-down back. He doesn't have the size. And I would have said this last offseason because the size doesn't change. He doesn't have the size to be a 3-down back, every down between the tackles, I got serious questions going into this year. We'll talk about Tyjae Spears because I'll start by saying this, assuming we're going to get to the Tyjae Spears conversation. I almost forgot, and I say this really sadly, I almost forgot how much fun he was as a rookie. Like when they had Derrick freaking Henry in his rookie year, and he rushed for more yards when he had Derrick Henry. Now, of course, he misses 5 games with the injury last year. That plays the main part, but he looked more explosive when he was playing behind Derrick Henry, as opposed to, in theory, having more opportunity because you're playing behind, a worse back in Tony Pollard compared to Derrick Henry. He averaged 3.7 yards per carry.
Wait, are we getting to Tyjae Spears now? Is that where you're going with this?
Yeah,
we can do that if you want.
Okay. I'm just starting it by saying last year was so disappointing, even when he was on the field. I actually did temporarily forget how much fun he was as a rookie. He did not have, remember how many plays he just made as a rookie in the passing game as a runner? Explosive plays where you started to see the writing, I still didn't think he was going to be a lead back, but you see how they're getting away from Derrick Henry. You see the vision. They got a guy that's going to be part of the solution here moving forward. And that just wasn't the case last year due to injury. I'm not blaming him, but 3.7 yards per carry. He was mostly boring. Find me how many explosive plays he made last year. There just wasn't a whole lot of excitement in watching Todd. 3.7 yards per carry. That is such a, and I know the run blocking, but he averaged 4.5 the year, as a rookie, or I think it was closer to 5. He averaged more than Derrick Henry. I remember that. As a rookie, more yards per carry than Derrick Henry did. So it was just such a disappointing year for Tyjae Spears last year.
He was at 4.5 yards per carry his rookie year, and I'm going to find out how many 10-plus yard carries.
That's almost a full yard less.
Right.
And 3.7 is a bad number no matter how you slice it, right? Any team in the league, it's a bad number.
Yeah, 3.7 yards per carry, it's got to be better than that. And I agree, his ideal role isn't your between the tackles, short yardage kind of runner because of his slighter frame. But you asked me how many explosive plays. I finally found it. 10-plus yard carries last year out of players with minimum 84 rush attempts. Now I had to lower my threshold from that 150 mark because Tyjae Spears only had 84 carries last year. He ranked 44th out of 49 players with 84 or more carries with just 9 runs of over 10-plus yards. But 9 runs on 84 tries to get 10-plus yards. That's not that bad, but it's not he was almost like a highlight waiting to happen as a rookie in that reserve role where it was every time he came in the game, he didn't have that many carries, but he made something happen.
It was so much fun to watch as a rookie, and I just didn't get that same feeling last year at all. And as Brian Callahan said, he got hurt early in the year, right? And it clearly took a toll on him the entire season. And it was more than one, right? He had a concussion, I remember for sure. Yeah. And I think there was an ankle or a hamstring. It was a lower body thing that just seemed to, lack of a better word, hamstrung his explosiveness the whole season.
So I think part of the reason I mentioned his 18.7% rush share last year, I think part of the reason for that was obviously missing 5 games worth of carries is going to lower your share. But also they started to lean on Pollard more because he was more effective. So it wasn't just the injuries that lowered his number of carries. It was also the effectiveness. And that takes us back, I think, now that we've covered the Tyjae Spears conversation. I guess the last thing I'll say on it is he's got to have a good year and he's got to stay healthy if he wants to be part of the offensive game plan in 2026. Now he's entering his 3rd season, so he's got another year of his rookie contract after this one. But if he wants to actually be Treylon Burks is going into his last year of his rookie contract too, but it doesn't matter, right? His Tennessee career is over. They're either going to try to trade him for peanuts or that he's going to get cut at the end of training camp. Tyjae Spears could be in a similar boat going into next season if he can't prove that he can stay healthy because they will draft his replacement. They will draft a new RB2 in the 4th or 5th round next year, and they won't need Tyjae Spears anymore. Or Khalil Mullings will play in his place when Tyjae Spears gets hurt this season, and they'll be oh, this guy is our future RB2. Who knows how that's going to play out, but if he doesn't stay healthy he doesn't have to give him 17 games. We had this conversation about somebody else recently. He's got to give him 13, 14 games of effectiveness.
Yeah. If it's 13 games, it's got to be a lot better than it was last year. Like you said, it's got to be 13 effective games where he's making explosive plays and he's generating, because that didn't happen last year.
Right. Okay. So that's sort of the Pollard versus Spears conversation. Now, how does the rushing workload get divided? You said you think they want to get Pollard probably closer to 50%. How much of that goes to Tyjae Spears? Because I think an ideal split here is something like if Pollard got 50% of the rushing share, then Spears gets like almost 30%. And then your quarterback
30,
probably takes
even
30, 35. Your quarterback probably takes 10% between design runs and scrambles. Your wide receivers probably take 4 or 5% total. Your RB3 is going to get 5% or so. These are, spoiler alert, about the numbers that I'm going to be using in my stat projection that I've been working on. So that's how I kind of see them dividing the workload this year, acknowledging that there is a situation where Pollard drops to 45% and Spears comes up to 35 or 40% if he is back to the kind of player he was as a rookie. So I think that the workload split, it's still going to be Pollard as your RB1 and Spears as your RB2. I don't think it's going to be a 1A, 1B where it's just a few carries separating them. I think Pollard gets probably close to 100 more carries than Spears, 50 to 100 more carries throughout the course of the season. Again, health notwithstanding.
Yeah, I think they'd like it to be closer than that, to be honest with you. Just because, Pollard too, like, does he have another year like that in him in terms of the workload?
Right.
I don't know that he does, and I don't think the Titans want to find out, right? Like, they want Tyjae Spears to be healthy because they also know they asked too much of Pollard last year, and it takes a toll. Like, Titans used to ask a lot of Derrick Henry, and then he got injured, right? Like, I don't believe that those things are coincidence most of the time. I think wear and tear is a very real thing, and that's when injuries start to happen. So Tyjae Spears has got to be healthy. We're going to move on from them, but it's another big reason why I think, like, I see a lot of people. I don't know if you said it. I know Lomas said it on Titan Size. Like, I'm not so quick to believe that Tony Pollard is such an obvious cut candidate next year. Like, I keep seeing that in other places, and it's like, oh, they'll save 6 or 7, 8 million against the cap. I'm like, okay, but like they don't. I know it's a non-premium position you can draft, but I'm like, I don't think that's enough money. They've already got a lot of cap. If Tyjae Spears has another injury-riddled year, and Khalil Mullings is a late 6th rounder, like I don't think it's enough money that you're saving there. Oh, they're definitely cutting Tony Pollard next year. Like, no, he might be a really good running back for them, 1,000-yard rusher, and they've got a ton of money already. Like, I think they're likelier to draft Tyjae Spears' replacement if he's not healthy this year. So I'm not ready to say that this is Pollard's last year. I'll leave it at that.
And just for context on that, his cap hit this year is $8.4 million. So he's going to play this season on an almost $8.5 million cap hit. Next year, it goes up to $9.25 million, which is like not that much in terms of when the salary cap itself is going up. The percentage of the cap actually goes down if you look at the chart that's in Spotrac's website. So it's actually less of your cap used, even though it's more money, and that's based on a projected increase in the cap. And he's going to play on an $8.5 million cap next year. If he's effective, playing on a $9.25 million cap hit in 2026 isn't that crazy. And if they do think that that's too high, they can always just extend him, like give him a fresh 2-year deal that lowers the year 1 cap hit. And if they need to lower it, then they can. But I don't think they need to, and I don't think they have to. Yeah.
Tony Pollard's hurt. He averages 3.5 yards per carry. He rushes for 700 yards. Yeah, they're probably cutting him next offseason. But if he's the 2024 version and even with a less workload, but he's still really effective and he's their best back and he's healthy, yeah, I think he's probably back in 2026.
Last conversation I want to have on these two before we move on to our RB3 battle is rushing touchdown. So Pollard, despite 260 carries last year and all those 10-plus yard runs that I mentioned, he only finished with 5 rushing scores. Tyjae Spears, on about a third of the carries, had 4 rushing touchdowns, only 1 less touchdown. So if you come up with a rushing touchdown percentage number, which I use for my stat projections, it's basically the number of times they score divided by the number of carries they have. Tony Pollard, 1.92 rushing touchdown percentage. Tyjae Spears, 4.76 rushing touchdown percentage. So Spears was more effective at finishing runs and getting in the end zone. Does that make him more of a goal line back? Does that make Tony Pollard? Are they going to split goal line back carries? Or is this where Khalil Mullings comes in?
I don't know. That's a tough question to answer, to be honest with you. I'll say with Spears, like I feel bad saying this, but I felt like some of those rushing touchdowns, they were really trying to give to him. Like I think he had one late against Miami in that Monday night blowout. You know what I mean? Like I think context-wise, you go back and actually watch the games, it felt like they were trying to get him those as opposed to he was just the better, more effective, efficient goal line back. I think they were making a conscious effort to get him going and get the confidence back up.
That could be it too. And it definitely is going to come down to opportunity, like who's first up when you're down there in the goal line, who's going to get the first crack at, getting it into the end zone. But I do wonder if that's where Kalel Mullings comes in. So let's transition to that conversation. Real quick word from Sinkers Beverages. Sinkers' 40th birthday jamboree coming up Saturday, August 9th. Tickets to get in are just $10. It comes with 2 free drinks. The event features live music, free giveaways, and all proceeds go to benefit the Martha K. O'Brien Center in East Nashville. Get your tickets in the video or podcast description, and we'll see you at Sinker's 40th birthday jamboree on Saturday, August 9th at 5:30 p.m. Yes.
And you never know. Ron Burgundy might be there. I mean, I don't know for sure that he's not going to be there, right? Like he could.
That's true. There's been no confirmation that he won't be there. So
right. That's big.
That's big. All right. Kalel Mullings, drafted this year by the Titans, is going to compete with Julius Chestnut, who hung around on the roster as the RB3 last season after Hassan Haskins didn't make the team. Is this battle as simple as, well, we spent draft capital on one guy, so he's probably going to win the job? And then there's a fifth guy in the conversation, Tyrion Davis-Price, who, look, I'll be honest with you, he's a camp body. He's a guy that's going to carry the brunt of the load in the last preseason game, and then he will be sent on his way, and that will be the end of his time in Tennessee. I mean, he's a 3-year veteran who is his third season, who was drafted, I think, by the Niners and then traded.
Like the third round, I think.
Yeah.
Terrible pick. The Niners are really bad at drafting. I mean, like they Trey Sermon. Ty Davis.
Yeah.
They've wasted some third-round picks on running backs, but.
So I just wanted to get it out of the way that I don't think he's in the mix to win the RB3 job really at all, but we also aren't going to just ignore him and not talk about him at all. So
they had a UDFA running back in this room. They did. Micah Bernard out of Utah, I think it was. They cut him after OTAs. I believe he made it. I made it through I think it was either OTAs or minicamp, one or the other. But he made it to that portion of the offseason. And then they essentially replaced him. They cut him and they added Ty Davis-Price. I'm with you. No, that was a head scratcher when the Niners took him that early, blew up in their face immediately. No, he's not in the RB3 mix.
He did win a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Is that right?
I think you're correct. Yes. I remember writing about that. If memory serves me.
But anyway, for the RB3 battle, it's Chestnut versus Kalel Mullings. And back to my question. Is it as simple as we drafted a guy, so he's going to win the job?
I'm going to say not quite, because they took him in the late 6.
Yeah.
But I do expect him to win the job. Like, that's sort of where I'm at. I mean, we had heard all off season long entering the draft. There was a lot of reports came out of this market that they wanted to add a back with some different size, right? I think I even mentioned him on one of our pre-draft episodes, right? I think in fairness, I threw out 10 or 5'10" running back names who I knew were of the bigger profile. I knew, he's 6'2", 226 at the NFL Combine. That's a guy that fits that profile. So they had a clear vision in mind for what they wanted in that guy. They take one in Kalel Mullings out of Michigan. No, they're not going to hand it to him, but I do think he's going to win it. That's part of it, again, because they were looking for that profile. But another reason I think he's going to win it is I'm projecting that he's going to be pretty good and useful on special teams, right? Like this guy, when he first went to Michigan, he played linebacker, right? And at 6'2", 226, the makeup is still there, right? The athleticism, the body type is still on the higher end for the position. So, you've got to see it, right? He hasn't played special teams in the NFL, obviously. But I think with the background, having played linebacker, having played defense at that size and speed profile, I think he's going to be pretty good on special teams. And then I combine that with, I don't think Julius Chestnut was very good on special teams last year. They kept him over, Hassan Haskins. I've said it a million times. It was a mistake because he was the better runner, right? But I don't think I said it. Remember, I said it when they did it. Everyone was all for it. So I don't know that should factor in as much as special teams does, because how many times is Julius Chestnut carrying the football for you? And I'll say this. Not going to pretend, all of us, we know how terrible the Titans special teams was, right? We knew it was awful. Not going to pretend to be an expert, and I could break down every single play. But I don't remember what game, but do you remember there was one special teams meltdown? It was one of the blocked punts that they put on Julius Chestnut, because he's supposed to pick up that guy. He lets that guy run right through. It looks like a miscommunication. I don't even think he tried to pick him up, if I recall correctly, and it led to a blocked punt. Was not very good on special teams. Kalel Mullings should be better, has the body type, has the draft capital. There's a lot going in his favor. And then again, he can't go out there and get so sorely outperformed either, right, by Julius Chestnut.
Right. Just to emphasize how important special teams is for the RB3 position, Chestnut last year was 5th on the team in special teams snaps, played a hair under 50% of the special team snaps throughout the course of the season. Again, 5th most of any Titans player. So whoever wins that job is going to be a core special teamer, and I do agree with you that it will be Khalil Mullings, but I also agree, like, there's going to be a weird give and take here where this guy's only played running back for a couple seasons because he was a linebacker first, so you have to give him like a little bit of time to make mistakes and understand this position at a higher level versus like how much, if he's not better than Chestnut, but you see the vision, like he's improving, then you can like see the path for him to make the roster. He's got to be really terrible, I think, for them to keep Chestnut over him. And then what?
Chestnut's always really good in the preseason exhibition, so it's probably going to be a conversation, right? Like,
yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how these guys perform in preseason because, like, I'd love to see Khalil Mullings handle the bulk of the workload in one of these games just to get a better idea of, like, what he can do. And I'm sure we will see that scenario play out when the preseason arrives.
Do you want to see Tony Pollard or Tyjae Spears in the preseason?
I don't think we'll see either of them in the preseason. Maybe for a drive. Maybe for a drive.
Cam Ward's first drive. Right?
Yeah, right. Like, let's just put Pollard out there. So that we have a back we trust in pass protection to not get Cam Ward blown up on his first preseason drop back. Yeah, that's the reason you'd put Pollard out there for one drive. But I'm kind of excited to watch the preseason. I'm always excited to watch the preseason. But specifically for guys like Khalil Mullings to go out there and just like, let's see what you can do, former linebacker. Like, let's go run in the NFL now. So that'll be interesting. And I think that's it. I think they only keep 3 because I think than just the numbers game across the other positions. Like, even though we're kind of light on offensive line and our projection with them only keeping 9, we've got them keeping 7 receivers and possibly 4 tight ends, although you and I think it's going to be 3. If there's a world where they keep 4 tight ends and 7 receivers, they're definitely not keeping 4 running backs also. So I think it probably will be 3. And I think if that is how it plays out, then Chestnut is going to be back on the practice squad and he'll be the first guy called up. If a special teamer or a running back gets injured, he'll be brought to the 53-man roster.
I'm with you on that. I think we're in full agreement. I could definitely see Chestnut sticking around and getting, opportunity to be on the active roster at some point. I just don't think it'll be in week 1.
Yeah. All right, that will do it for this one. We previewed the running back position. Justin, a week from today, the Titans will not just have reported a training camp, they will be on the field practicing next Wednesday, and we can't, depending on when you're listening to this a week from today, but next Wednesday, so we can't wait for that. We've got 2 more positions to preview before we start talking about what's happening at training camp, and those are the linebacker position, which is the biggest roster battle on the team, who's going to start at LB2, and the quarterback position, which is the most exciting and fun one to talk about because we finally get to talk about Cam Ward, who we've only mentioned in passing on our last 9 podcasts. So I'm excited for that episode coming out. The linebacker episode will drop tomorrow, around 4:30 Central, and the quarterback one will drop on Thursday around 4:30 Central. So thanks to everyone for tuning into this podcast. We appreciate you. Thanks to Sinkers Beverages. Remember to check out the link in the description to the Sinkers 40th birthday jamboree. And if you enjoy this video, like it, hit subscribe, drop a comment below. Between Justin and I, who's right about, we argued about something, but I already forgot what it was. Let us know which Justin was right this time. I love the Justin was right bit that we're doing, but it's actually frustrating us because we're like, which one of us was right? We have egos too, and we want to know. So let us know. That'll do it for this one. Until next time, till tomorrow, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.